Let's get right into it. Number 10. Washing hands. Picture this. 1847. A doctor discovers something that could save thousands of lives. His reward? They destroy his career and lock him in an asylum. Ignaz Semmelweis noticed something horrifying at his hospital. One maternity ward had 5 times more dead mothers than the other. The difference was the deadly ward was run by doctors who performed autopsies with their bare hands, then delivered babies. Yeah, they used the same hands, from dead bodies to newborns. Semmelweis forced doctors to wash with chlorine. Deaths dropped 90% overnight. 90%. But here's where it gets dark. The medical establishment was so offended by the suggestion that their gentlemanly hands could carry disease, they literally bullied him into madness. They believed being upper class made your hands magically clean. The twisted ending is that Semmelweis died in that asylum from an infected wound, the exact type of infection he spent his life trying to prevent. His colleagues basically murdered him with their arrogance. Number 9. The discovery that made people think they were seeing death. Wilhelm Röntgen was alone in his dark lab in 1895 when he saw something impossible. Light passing through solid black paper, through walls, through flesh. When he showed the world X-rays, people accused him of witchcraft. Yeah, witchcraft, in 1895. So Röntgen decided to prove everyone wrong by taking a picture of his wife's hand. When she saw her own skeleton, with her wedding ring floating around her bone, she screamed that she'd seen her own death. That image became the most famous photograph in science. But here's the insane part. People went X-ray crazy. Shoe stores installed X-ray machines to show how feet fit in shoes. They were literally blasting children with radiation to sell sneakers. Some X-ray pioneers kept testing the rays on themselves until their fingers literally rotted and fell off. We discovered one of medicine's greatest tools, then immediately used it to destroy ourselves. Number 8. The man who drank bacteria to win an argument. Your stomach is a bag of acid that can dissolve metal. For decades, every doctor on Earth said bacteria couldn't survive in there. Ulcers? Must be stress and spicy food. Enter Barry Marshall, a doctor everyone thought was insane. He claimed bacteria caused ulcers. Nobody listened. So Marshall did the unthinkable. He grew a batch of stomach bacteria in a petri dish, poured it into a beaker, and drank it. This absolute madman chugged a glass of infectious bacteria like it was a protein shake. Within days, he was vomiting. His stomach felt like it was being eaten from the inside. When they shoved a camera down his throat, his stomach lining looked like raw hamburger meat. He'd given himself the beginning stages of ulcers, on purpose, to prove a point. His insane stunt revolutionized medicine. Millions of people suffering from ulcers could now be cured with simple antibiotics instead of surgery. Marshall won a Nobel Prize for voluntarily poisoning himself. Number 7. When bicycle mechanics embarrassed the world's smartest man. It's the year 1895. Lord Kelvin is the president of the Royal Society. He's basically the Einstein before Einstein. And he made a declaration that heavier-than-air flying machines were impossible. 8 years later, 2 bicycle mechanics who probably couldn't even spell thermodynamics made him look like an idiot. The Wright brothers didn't have PhDs. They fixed bikes for a living. But on December 17, 1903, they flew for 12 seconds and changed human history forever. 12 seconds. That's all it took to prove the world's greatest scientist wrong. Think about that. The most brilliant mathematical mind of the era said flight was impossible. Meanwhile, 2 guys from Ohio were in a field. They were crashing prototypes and probably eating sandwiches their mom packed. And they were about to revolutionize civilization. Number 6. The New York Times versus basic physics. In 1920, the New York Times published an article calling rocket scientist Robert Goddard an idiot. They argued that rockets couldn't work in space because there was, quote, nothing to push against. This is the New York Times, not some random blog. They literally didn't understand Newton's third law, the thing you learn in middle school. Rockets work by shooting hot gas one way, which pushes them the other way, like releasing an inflated balloon. The vacuum of space actually makes them work better because there's no air resistance. Fast forward to 1969. We're landing on the moon using the exact principles they said were impossible. The Times had to publish the most humiliating correction in journalism history. They basically admitted that Newton was right all along and ended with the line, "The Times regrets the error." They apologized to a guy who'd been dead for 242 years, and they were 49 years late admitting they were wrong. Number 5. The Weatherman who solved Earth's biggest mystery. Alfred Wegener wasn't even a geologist. He was a meteorologist who flew weather balloons for fun, but he noticed something everyone else missed. South America and Africa fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Then he found the smoking gun. Identical fossils on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. Same ancient reptiles chilling in Brazil and West Africa, separated by 3,000 miles of water. The geology establishment's response? They basically told him to stick to predicting rain. A weatherman telling geologists how Earth worked was like a dentist explaining rocket science to NASA. It took 50 years before anyone believed him. By then, we had instruments that could measure the seafloor literally spreading apart. The continents really are sliding around like air hockey pucks. Exactly like the weather guy said. Wegener died in Greenland, frozen in ice, never knowing he'd solved one of Earth's greatest mysteries. Number 4. The speed that would turn you into human soup. It's the 1820s. Everyone thinks that trains going over 30 miles per hour would make passengers suffocate to death. They thought the human body would literally disintegrate at such insane speeds. 30 miles per hour. That's slower than your dad drives through a school zone. They genuinely believed you'd turn into human confetti the moment you hit 31 miles per hour. Your lungs would collapse. Your body would explode like a water balloon. The ironic part is 2 guys actually suffocated in a train tunnel in 1861, which probably popularized this myth even more. But they didn't die from speed. They died because they were breathing engine fumes in a poorly ventilated tunnel. So while everyone panicked about going too fast, the real danger was just bad air circulation. Today's bullet trains hit 200 miles per hour. Surprisingly, nobody's turned into human soup yet. Number 3. The nuclear physicist who didn't believe in nuclear power. Ernest Rutherford wasn't just any scientist. He discovered the atomic nucleus. He literally wrote the textbook on atoms. In 1933, he declared that using atomic energy was moonshine, an old-timey word for total nonsense. But Rutherford had already split an atom back in 1917. He just didn't think it could be used for anything practical. He'd done the impossible, then said it was useless. It's like inventing fire, and then saying, "Nah, this will never catch on." Less than 10 years after his moonshine comment, the first nuclear reactor went online. His own discoveries became the foundation for the atomic age he said would never happen. Imagine being so brilliant you discover something world-changing, then so wrong you don't realize what you've discovered. Number 2. The sheep that shouldn't exist. Back in the 80s and 90s, scientists were pretty sure about one thing. You can't clone a mammal from an adult cell. They thought adult cells were like retired workers, only able to do one specific job and nothing else. Then came Dolly. Scientists yanked DNA from a sheep's udder cell and stuffed it into an empty egg. The world went insane. People thought we'd be cloning humans next week. Religions panicked. Governments scrambled to make laws. But Dolly had problems. She aged at warp speed. Arthritis hit her way too young. Tumors appeared. It's like she was running on photocopied DNA with glitches in the code. Still, she had babies of her own. She died at 6 years old, half a normal sheep's lifespan, but she'd already changed everything we thought we knew about life itself. Number 1. The animal that broke science's brain. In the year 1798, British scientists receive a package from Australia. Inside, they find what looks like God's drunk experiment: duckbill, beaver body, otter feet. The scientists were so convinced it was fake, they literally grabbed magnifying glasses to search for stitches. They thought someone was pranking them with a Frankenstein's monster of animal parts. But wait, it gets weirder. Once they finally accepted this thing was real, they discovered it laid eggs. A mammal, laying eggs. Their entire classification system just exploded. Then the final insult to logic: the males have venomous spurs that inject a toxin so painful, morphine won't even touch it. Victims describe wanting to amputate their own limbs just to escape the agony. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.